Today we'll discuss Zagreus, Zeus's forgotten son, who became the god of thunder and surpassed Zeus in power. Zagreus was destined in mythology to succeed Zeus as king of the universe, taking his throne and receiving his thunderbolts. Just like you could also give me a like, subscribe to the Hypar channel, and share the video, because that would help me a lot, okay? Check the pinned comment to learn more about Greek mythology. I'll also leave some headphones there for you so you can ditch that headset and not go bald, which is pretty unpleasant. Pico Zagreus is not commonly found in Greek mythology. In fact, if you look for him in the most famous sources of Greek mythology, like the writings of Homer and Hesiod, you won't find him. That's because this god is more common in Orphism. Orphism was a religious and philosophical movement in ancient Greece, closely linked to Orpheus, the same one who descended to the underworld, to Hades, to retrieve his wife's soul, but he ended up losing her along the way. Orphism differs from traditional Greek mythology. That's because they believed in an immortal soul, in reincarnation, and in a path of purification to achieve spiritual liberation. Ancient Greek religion consisted of diverse beliefs and multiple cults. For example, there was the cult of the Olympian gods, which was more connected to reason, to light, and to outdoor rituals. There were also chthonic cults focused on earth and underworld gods, or rather the mystical, mysterious underworld. If different cults didn't fight among themselves in Greece, the same person could participate in the rituals of Zeus and, at the same time, be initiated into the mysteries of Demeter. And yes, this is quite different from today's religions like Christianity or Islam, which generally exclude each other. The Greeks had no issue blending beliefs and didn't separate them into distinct religions. It is within this diversity that Orpheus appears, a character whom the Greeks saw as a prophet or a spiritual teacher. A tradition known as Orphism developed around him. Orphism wasn't a new religion with new gods, but a different interpretation of the existing faith, focusing more on the soul, the afterlife, and living purely. The Orphics read texts credited to Orpheus, practiced their own rituals and beliefs, but still worshiped the same gods. That's why it was hard to tell if something was Orphic or part of traditional Greek religion. A challenge in studying Orphism is the absence of direct records, unlike followers of other deities who left tomb inscriptions expressing their faith. Almost nothing directly mentions Orpheus. No one performed a ritual for a deity and claimed to follow Orpheus. But that didn't mean the Orphics weren't real. Many Dionysus followers may have also followed Orpheus's teachings, but left no written records. People continued discussing the Orphic texts during the Roman era. Authors like Diodorus and Pausanias mention them as sources of religious teachings, which shows that they still had influence. Neoplatonic philosophers used the Orphic poems to support their ideas, while Christians used them to criticize pagan beliefs. Orphism has mainly been a text-based religion, not needing temples or organized priests. This is why it appears more like literature than a cult, which is more appropriate. And a very important guy in this story is this Onomikritos, who lived in the 6th century before Christ. He was reportedly responsible for organizing and possibly altering many texts credited to Orpheus. He was expelled from Athens for tampering with oracles, but later regained influence, even with the Persians. Plato and Aristotle reference Orpheus's poems, with Plato quoting them directly. Aristotle, on the other hand, doubted that the texts were really by Orpheus. He recognized their importance and role in the era's philosophical debates. Orphic ideas strongly influenced Greek spirituality, especially regarding the soul, reincarnation, purity, and union with the divine, even without an Orphic church. As I said earlier, the Orphics followed almost the same Greek gods as always. However, they had some main ones, and among them there were some that were exclusive to the Orphics. Persephone, goddess of the underworld and Hades' wife, played a key role in the fate of souls after death. The Orphic gold tablets were found in tombs, often containing instructions for the deceased to address Persephone, seeking her mercy and access to the blessed realms. Hades, the feared ruler of the underworld, was also very important. On the soul's journey after death, its fate, temporary or permanent, depends on purification. Zagreus was crucial as the original Dionysus, I'll explain more about him soon. But he would basically be the divine part of a human soul and the hope for redemption. His dismemberment and rebirth symbolized life's cycle and the potential for liberation. Phanes, a key figure in Orphic theogony and a primordial deity born from a cosmic egg, is seen as the universe's first being, symbolizing light and creation. He is often linked to Eros and Dionysus. Phanes deserves more discussion. In Orphic cosmogony, he was the primordial god of creation, an initial force that sparked life and the universe's movement. He was born from a cosmic egg, a mix of all elements. Kronos representing time and Nanki representing inevitability were separated. Phanes became the universe's first king. He gave the power to his daughter Nyx, the night, who passed it to her son Uranus, the sky. Afterwards, the rule was taken by Kronos and later by Zeus, who became the ultimate ruler of the gods, at least until now. In some versions, Zeus swallows Phanes to absorb his creative power and then spread it among all the new gods, the Olympians and their future children. The Orphics saw Phanes as an older version of Eros, the primordial desire from Hesiod's theogony. He also blended with the ideas of other older deities, such as Teshyx and the creation Physis, nature. Even Theon reminded them of Metis, the wisdom goddess swallowed by Zeus and Tethys, nurse of all living things. Phoné is described as a hermaphroditic deity with golden wings and a serpent wrapped around them. His name comes from Greek and means something like the one who brings the light or the one who makes things appear. Orpheus was chosen by Orphism as its main representative because of his descent into the underworld in search of Eurydice. This was seen as an initiation into Orphism itself and also into the mysteries. One day, Orpheus ended up falling deeply in love with a nymph named Eurydice, but shortly after their wedding, she was bitten by a snake and died. Orpheus became so sad that he stopped singing and playing music until grief overtook him. He chose to do the unthinkable, descend into the underworld to try to bring her back. And Orpheus's music was so powerful that he managed to use it to sort of get past Charon, even though he was alive, which Charon usually didn't do. He only carried the dead. At the underworld gates, Cerberus, the three-headed guard dog, was soothed by Orpheus's song. Even Hades and Persephone, rulers of the underworld, were so enchanted by his music they let Eurydice return with Orpheus. But there was a catch. He absolutely could not look back. Until they were completely out of the world of the dead, Orpheus walked in silence, almost reaching the sunlight. But overcome by curiosity and emotion, he turned to look at his beloved, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. And, at that very moment, Eurydice disappeared again, and this time forever. The rest of Orpheus's life was marked by sadness. He refused other women's company, angering the Bacchae, Dionysus's followers, who then tore him apart in rage. The Muses, pitying Orpheus, collected his remains and buried him properly. But the Bacchae threw his head, took his lyre as well, and threw them into the river Hebrus. Still the head sang, and the lyre played on its own. The waters carried them to the sea, and eventually they reached the island of Lesbos. There, the head became an oracle as powerful as Apollo at Delphi, and the lyre was placed in the sky, transformed by the gods into a constellation. Orphism's central belief god or story centers on Zagreus. He held the divine spark, symbolizing enlightenment and freedom from reincarnation. Though usually considered Zeus's son, one fragment suggests he could also be Hades' son. Now I came to say goodbye to Zagreus and his hospitable father. It's important to note that in this fragment, Systemo describes leaving the underworld, and Hades is called the hospitable of the dead. Here, as Maria of Persephone, he is seen as Zagreus' father, the chthonic god. Another story about Zagreus involves Demeter. Fearing her daughter's suitors, she hid Persephone in a Sicilian cave, but fate was unavoidable. Zeus, of course, disguised as a great serpent dragon, he sneaked into the room and also ended up enchanting the guardians and putting them to sleep. With his coiled body and soft lips, he seduced Persephone. Young Persephone, you couldn't escape marriage. Wasn't it a serpent dragon who became your partner when Zeus transformed and came winding in loving spirals? through the darkness to the maiden's bedroom corner, shaking his hairy jaws. He put the guards at the door to sleep as he sneaked closer. A lion is requested, divine. Persephone gave birth to Zagreus, a horned baby who, even as a child, climbed Zeus's throne. He played with lightning and thunder, a sign he was his father's chosen heir. From this union with the divine dragon, Persephone's womb was filled with living fruit. She gave birth to Zagreus, the horned baby, who, on his own, climbed to Zeus's celestial throne and wielded the lightning bolt with his small hand. As a newborn, he lifted the thunderbolts with delicate fingers. In other words, Zeus named him his heir. But Zagreus' reign was brief. Driven by jealousy, Hera urged the Titans to kill him. They masked their faces with white powder, and as Zagreus was distracted by his reflection, attacked and killed him with a shadowy knife. But they did not keep Zeus's throne for long. Due to Hera's relentless anger, the Titans cleverly covered their faces with chalk as a disguise. As he watched his changing face in the mirror, they killed him with an infernal knife. From that violent end, a new life began. Dionysus, the boy god, was reborn and kept changing. He was sometimes a clever baby like young Zeus, other times an old man like Kronos. He would make it rain, turning into a roaring lion, rearing horse, hissing serpent, striped tiger, or fierce bull facing the Titans. He fought with all his strength, but Hera shouted from the heavens, making the sky tremble with her furious scream as a stepmother. Disguised as a bull, Dionysus was slain and dismembered by the Titans. Thus, he fought for his life until Hera, with her jealous throat, shouted fiercely through the air, that stepmother full of resentment. The gates of Olympus trembled at her cry from the heavens. Then the brave bull fell. The killers, each eager in turn with a knife, tore Dionysus apart in the form of a bull. Zeus was enraged when he learned of the mirror trick and took his vengeance on the earth, mother of the Titans. He sent lightning and fire everywhere. The forests burned their hair, and even the earth itself came out scorched. Fire moved east to west. Aquitriana, Caspian Sea, Indian Mountains, Red Sea, Atlantic Ocean, even the frozen northern seas and the ocean itself began to boil. She cried, shedding tears like a prayer. She saw the destruction she had caused. Zeus took pity on the earth. He filled the sky with clouds and sent a great flood to wash away ashes and heal wounds. The flood covered the earth and ended the Titans. Of course, there are still other versions that say Zeus recovered Zagreus' heart and turned it into a potion to sow and drink. This led to the birth of the second Dionysus, a reincarnation of the first. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, if possible, share it and leave your like, because it really helps me out, okay? Thanks and see you. Bye.